It's so powerful because so many women that I work with in particular have built up labels about themselves, as you said, that I have a fast metabolism or I have a slow metabolism. And they just believe that's what they've come into this life with, and there's no way around it. And the truth is, we have full control over our metabolic speed, regardless of age, regardless of background, regardless of experience.
Welcome, Revolutionary Mama, to the Raising Wild Hearts podcast. I'm Ryan Watkin, educator, mom of three, rebel at heart, and passionate soul on a mission to empower and inspire you. Here, we'll explore psychology, spirituality, parenthood, and the intersection where they all come together. We'll discover how challenges can be fertile soil for growth, and that even in the messy middle of motherhood, we can find magic in the mundane. Join me on my own personal journey as I talk to experts and share resources on education, creativity, self-care, family culture, and more. I believe we can change the world by starting at home in our own minds and hearts, and that when we do, we'll be passing down the most important legacy there is: healing. And so it is. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Raising Wild Hearts podcast. Happy New Year. This is my second go-round recording an introduction for this amazing interview I'm about to share with you because as the year wrapped up here in the Watkin household, I had some tech issues, and my computer, my lovely little MacBook Pro, may she rest in peace. She finally had enough of the shenanigans around here, and she took a dive. So I had to get a whole new tech stack, and I'm so grateful to be back in the studio on a new computer with you here today. So Happy New Year. I'm not a big fan of New Year, new you. What's your resolution? In reflecting on that, because a friend asked me recently, like, oh, do you do resolutions? And I'm like, I really don't. And I couldn't explain why I don't, but I don't. But something that I did do this year with my husband is we sat down and we got these questions. I got these questions from the Mel Robbins podcast, which I just started following, and I love her. She's got a new book called The Let Them Theory, which I'm super interested in. Haven't read it yet, but I'll let you know if I do and when I do, how it is. But so anyway, she had these questions about starting the new year. And the first one, which I absolutely loved, and this is the reason that we did this, was, what are your highlights of the year? And she instructed you to go and look through your camera roll. So my husband and I on New Year's Eve, we sorted our photos by the year 2024. Each of us had like 3,000 plus photos. And we looked through and looked at our highlights for last year. And I'll tell you what, there's so much that you forget about through the year. So that was really fun, reflecting on that. And there were a few other questions too that we, went through, like kind of, what do you want to keep doing? What do you want to stop doing? What do you want to start doing? I think there were 7 questions in all. If you want to, go check it out on the Mel Robbins podcast after you listen to this one, of course. So that was really fun. And I also am big on like the Lunar New Year, which I want to say it's in the beginning of February, I think. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Which also coincides with my birthday. And so that, for me personally, when the spring is coming and it's my birthday and we've had like a month to kind of come out of the holidays, right? That's when I feel most like energized to really set intentions. And if I have goals for the year, think about those. And I'm never really like hard and fast on that stuff. Not yet. Maybe one day when the kids are a little bit older. But anyway, so all that to say, Happy New Year. And if you want, if it sounds fun, sort your photos for last year and see what the highlights were. It's really, really fun to reflect on all the amazing, abundant, you know, just happy memories that you had because we can get caught up. I know I can in like the day to day. So let's talk about today's episode now. I mean, normally I record these intros right after I get off the line with my guest, but since it's been a hot minute, I am just kind of going off my notes from when I talked to Ariel Griglin. And Ariel and I do remember this. We had an absolutely phenomenal conversation. Her motto is becoming lighter. And she's a metabolic and health coach and helps people on their nutrition and fitness and bodies. And the way that she talks about and coaches women is so aligned, and there's a depth to it. It's not just like get skinny, quote unquote, to fit into this pair of pants or to wear this bathing suit. It is so much more than that. And Ariel really focuses on the energetics of weight loss, the energetics of feeling good in your own body and nourishing yourself so that you can do the work that you're here to do. And by work, I mean your purpose. So I think I had goosebumps like almost all of the entire conversation. We talk about it so much. Like we check all the boxes, hit all the bases. We talk about metabolic health. We talk about the endocrine system. We talk about calorie restriction and high intensity workouts. I even ask Ariel what she thinks about the GLP-1s, which basically, unless you've been living under a rock, you know, it's Ozempic and the other ones that are out there. I don't even know all the names. And I was very curious because I know a couple, like less than a handful of humans who have decided to go that path. And I don't know exactly how I feel about it. And so I wanted to get Ariel's take, and I loved her take. And so we really break that down a little bit. And we talk about the mother wound a little bit. And it's just a really, really profound conversation. So if you have a body and you're in a body, this conversation is for you. So let's dive in. Happy New Year. I hope you are experiencing a really, really great start to the calendar year. You might hear my dog. He's on the carpet right now, like scratching his back, barking. The dog. He always wants to be in here when I'm recording, just like at my feet. He likes it. So please excuse the little Bodhi bear in the background. All right. So let's just dive in. And I'm so excited to hang with you guys in 2025. I've got some phenomenal interviews already scheduled. I've got some phenomenal interviews in the works. So yeah, let's do it. Remember to make sure you are subscribed and following on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And hey, if you feel like doing me a favor, my birthday is coming up. It's February 7th. And on Apple Podcasts right now, I think I have 27 reviews. Thank you so much for everyone who's already left me a review. And I'm trying to get, I will have 33 interviews by the time it's my birthday. So that's just kind of a lucky number. I am not turning 33. No, I'm turning 42, I think. I'm like at that point now where I'm like, how old am I? So that's like a little birthday goal for myself. So yeah, if you feel super loving and inspired after this interview, during this interview, even right now, hit the pause button, go down and click write a review. All right, y'all. Thanks for being here. Love you all. Talk to you soon. Let's jump in. Hi, Ariel. Welcome to the Raising Wild Hearts podcast.
Hello, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
Totally. I'm so excited to have you here. And I read your bio to my amazing listeners before this conversation, so they know all about your background and what you do. And one of the places that I want to start, because I feel like I'm coming to this conversation as like
just a total novice when talking about all things like metabolism, nutrition, fitness, exercise. And so I really just want to go like super basic and say, what is metabolism? Because the old like idea I have in my head is like, do you have a fast metabolism or do you have a slow one? All I can think of
Yes.
when I think about it is like this binary. So break down for us like what actually is metabolism and why do we have it?
Yes. Such a great question. And the really simple definition is that our metabolism is the speed through which we burn through fuel. That's it. And it's so powerful because so many women that I work with in particular have built up labels about themselves, as you said, that I have a fast metabolism or I have a slow metabolism. And they just believe that's what they've come into this life with, and there's no way around it. And the truth is, we have full control over our metabolic speed, regardless of age, regardless of background, regardless of experience. And if we want to take it a little bit further, I have a feeling we can talk energy on this podcast quite a bit,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah.
metabolism is so incredible. When we think about putting a piece of food into our body and somehow it transmutes into like nothingness, and now I can form a sentence with you and have the energy to form a sentence with you is incredible.
Yes, it really
So
is. You,
miraculous.
it's so miraculous. You said on one of your Instagram posts, I have to quote you now. Weight loss is so much more than the pair of pants you fit into. It is quite literally your ability to transmute energy. It is taking the raw material you put into your mouth and effectively turning that into life force. It is turning that raw material into your cells, tissues, and organs so that you can do what you were put on this earth to do. Ariel, I was like, holy shit. Yes, that is. Like, that to me was so powerful, like, so much more than, like, be summer bikini ready or like that whole, like, that paragraph. I was like, yep, that's it.
And Ryan, I'm getting like chills through my whole body as you say it. I know these things to be true, but as you're saying it, I'm just feeling this wave of energy, which we could um, we could debate that in this moment, that wave of energy, this electricity coming through my body, this life force that I feel is contributing to a healthier, smoother, faster, more efficient metabolism.
Oh, I like that. So I think then this is a good point to talk about what metabolic health actually looks and feels like, because I think so many of us don't even like have a baseline idea for like what is it to feel good without caffeine or without a weight loss supplement or without injections like these peptides, which I would actually love to hear your take on those. But like, what is it without these crutches that we use? What happens when we just use our own discerning choices? Like, how should we look and feel like day to day?
Yeah, you're right. And that so many, unfortunately, don't even know. And, I can get on a whole soapbox of why that is and factors in our society that contribute to poor metabolic health. But my tagline, I don't know if you previously shared this, is becoming lighter. And when I speak to women about the journey of becoming lighter, I mean that in every sense of the way, in our hearts and in our minds and on the scale. And if we're purging our closet, just becoming lighter in all ways. And when our metabolism is operating efficiently and working for us rather than against us, we feel light. It's not an effort to wake up and have energy. We don't need to depend on a cup of coffee. We don't need to depend on an ibuprofen or anything. We're just in sync with our body, and we can do the things we want to do, like pick up our kids or make a meal for our family or change the world or put together a podcast or come up with new concepts and ideas. Whatever we choose to do, we can do. when we're in that healthy state.
I love that. So this feels relevant. I'm on day like 5 of not drinking coffee anymore. And throughout like my adult life, let's say, I've not been like a giant coffee drinker. I have 1 cup a day and I enjoy it and it's like a ritual, but I was starting to feel it affect my adrenal glands and my day. So there was a very specific point of the day, always between like 2 and 3, which is also when I happened to be picking my children up, that I would start to feel like, oh my God, I have to get through another half of the day. And what I found myself doing typically was like reaching for a piece of chocolate or needing like a sip of kombucha to like pep me up or like needing something to like make me feel a little bit better. And so I was like, you know what? Got it, universe. And it's been whispering and whispering and whispering. And finally, like the ton of bricks like hit me with like one day I just felt like awful. And I was like, okay, I'm done. And so I guess my question is like caffeine, sugar, these things that some of us, me, use to get through the day or get a little pep in our step. What's your take on those? Is it like in moderation? Is it none at all? Like, what is it for you?
Well, there's two things that I want to address in that. And first of all, you said, which is very common, especially among moms, of taking a cup of coffee first thing in the morning and then midday having that crash, grabbing whether it's a candy bar or a sandwich or just the nearest food. An important distinction is that caffeine is a nervous system stimulant. It's not actually fuel. So halfway through the day, our nervous system is experiencing a crash, and then we opt for a different type of fuel, which unfortunately will create a different type of crash, which comes from our pancreatic hormones. But there's a difference, and that difference is an important distinction to understand. And taking that a step further, am I pro caffeine or what's my take on caffeine? Most of the people that I work with have some type of metabolic imbalance or dysfunction. So starting off, I would suggest exactly what you're doing right now, recognizing it, taking some time off, allowing the nervous system to rest and recover. However, what's really, really key, especially as women, is understanding the power of seasons. So the protocol I work with is based around seasons. We go through seasons of our exercise training. We go through seasons of the way that we're eating to keep the body improving and not maladapting, meaning adapting in a negative way or plateauing. So caffeine can actually be used therapeutically. It can act as a thermogenic, which means it's heating up the internal temperature of our body. It can support fat loss if it's used in conjunction with the right exercise training. But the trick is if we're not adapted, meaning if we're not used to it. So I'm not a big caffeine drinker. I don't use coffee, but at certain times of my training, I will use a pre-workout or a caffeine product specifically for that season.
Got it. Okay. That makes so much sense. And it was so like simply put. I love that. And I think this is like another way for us to just become aware of what we're doing and how it's affecting us. You know, I could have like kept brushing it under the rug, and which I did for a while. I mean, I think like months I was having this whisper of like, it's the coffee in the morning. It's the coffee in the morning. I was drinking it with cream, and it was just like, it could have been the dairy even in combination. And so I have that like, you know, in my mind too. I'm like, when I am ready to reintroduce it, when I'm feeling more baseline, when I'm feeling healthy, if I want to introduce it, if I even want to, maybe I need to play around with the ratio, what I mix it with. Maybe I need to do it with some MCT oil instead of that, or drink it black. I don't know, but I need to like play around with it. Okay. So
can I say one more thing about that?
Yes, please.
If I had a dime for every time someone said, it's just my ritual, I love the experience and the cup of coffee. And I'm kind of laughing. My mom and I were in this situation, and I'm like, Mom, I know that's what you're telling yourself, but the caffeine is a nervous system stimulant and it's affecting our brain, it's affecting our neurotransmission. So we say those things, and maybe at the beginning, yes, the experience and holding the cup of coffee is delightful and wonderful, but eventually that's also what addiction will tell us.
Yes. Yes. So, and it was so funny on like day 3. I mean, I was like really, day 3 was the worst. And I was just in a slump and like, whoa. And I drank hot tea in the morning. Like whenever I felt like I needed that ritual part of it, I like would pour myself a cup of hot tea, and I like tea. It's great. It's hot, whatever. But it is a drug. And it is a stimulant. And so for sure. And it was so funny because my husband was like, this is why I've never drank coffee, because he like saw me, I like fell into his arms when he got home. He's like, oh my gosh, he's kind of laughing at me, but he felt bad because it was like, I'm having like detox symptoms from a drug. I mean, it's what it is. So I'm curious and this might be like redundant a little bit, but let's still kind of peel this apart. What are some of the symptoms of somebody who is having metabolic issue? You mentioned like weight loss resistance on your website. So what is like another symptom or a list of them that you have?
So I'm going to get a little technical for a moment. And there's a term that's often used in my world. My partner actually developed it some years ago with a team of doctors, called REMAS. So it stands for Restrictive Endocrine Maladaptive Adrenal Stress Syndrome. As you pointed out, the root of it is chronic adrenal stress. And when our body's constantly in that fight or flight, be it environmental factors, mental and emotional factors, spiritual factors, whatever it is that's a pandemic, whatever it is that's causing that chronic adrenal stress, then we have this cascade of imbalances in the body. So initial stages, it will show up as what we just talked about: crashes with energy, feeling fatigued, maybe some achy and stiff joints, maybe some digestive issues, but nothing immediately severe. And then as REMAS starts to progress into later stages, then I will see people with diagnoses like a thyroid condition or pre-diabetic or hypertension. And then when it progresses to even later stages, then I see people that have multiple diagnoses, and they're on medications for diabetes, high blood pressure, thyroid, all of it.
So I venture to guess. So to me, you're talking about kind of a 3-stage process. And the beginning stage of that is like what we just call like regular life as moms. A lot of us, like, we're groggy, we're not sleeping well, and we're drinking caffeine. And so we're crashing in the day, many of us. And then it progresses and progresses over months and years. And then something like has to change, or we will be, doing this same thing, like working ourselves closer to dis-ease, right? And so for me, like, one of my turning points was March 2020, when both of my older 2 kids like got sent home. I didn't even have a third kid yet at that point, but they got sent home from their preschools. Their preschools closed, and I was in like full on launch mode in my business. And then all of a sudden I became this stay-at-home mom again overnight. And so there was this like really big stress on me. And then there was, my husband lost his job. We had financial struggles. We had just like this bam, 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 like perfect storm of things going on. Not to mention that, like, I call it the plandemic. Like, I'm not to mention that I was like just pissed about what was happening in the world for like 2-3 years, and then I got pregnant. So we're going from bam, 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 stressor, 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 stressor to I'm pregnant, which was a lovely celebration. And I was so happy. And I, doted on that little baby. And I wanted, he's a boy. And I wanted like meat and potatoes and all these like man meals. And so I did. I just like butter and meat and all like that man food that he was craving. And I gave it to him. And so he came out 9 pounds, 9 ounces, the little Tonka truck he is. And then here I am. He just turned 3 in the beginning of October, still feeling very much like postpartum. And I look back and I'm like, holy guacamole. I've had just like this wild 4 years. And so now I'm coming up for air over the past like year or so. And I'm going, okay, like what next? Like, how do I put myself first? How do I put my health first? How do I realize that I'm under stress and make like just very, very tiny shifts, like small shifts every day. So for someone, which I would venture to say like many or most of us, who feels like they're going through a really challenging period of their life, like what would you say to them as like hope in starting a journey for great metabolic health, which really is great overall health?
I'm so glad you asked that because I had something very specific I wanted to share, and it's in line with that. First of all, unfortunately, it's not uncommon that I meet people that have some type of metabolic imbalance, and it is bam, 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 stressor on top of stressor, or a big move or a big change in career, and that's when, or shortly after, they notice changes in their body or in their health. So that is common. And of course, the earlier we can address it, the better. But a seed of hope is if we can just take another lens beyond the physicality, which is important, but another lens of what's energetically taking place. It's a wild time to be human. I'm sure you talk about this all the time on the podcast, and we are getting faced with so much opportunity to become lighter, to enlighten ourselves, to clear old baggage, and to, I might say, step into our power, specifically women. So to look at that of so many things, I'm going to say you specifically, so many things being thrown at you in that 4-year period is a massive, massive upgrade to your power, even though it doesn't feel like it in the moment.
Yes. Thank you. I am so receiving that. In the intro to this podcast, I say that challenges are fertile soil for growth. And I'm like, oh yeah, sister, because when I recorded that, it was just like a toe dip into the challenging part. And then after, like, it was like, thing after thing. And the universe was like, really, sister? Like, do you want to say that? Because now it's time to walk the talk. And so Here I am walking the talk. And I love that because it is such an opportunity for me to root in and ground into my purpose of this podcast, for one, of being a mother, being a wife, creating a family, spreading kindness and positivity in the world right now when it does feel so chaotic. It is such a wild time to be alive. Like, spiritually speaking, we're like shifting into the age of Aquarius. My yoga teacher always says it's like turning the Titanic, like it's happening, but it's like, millimeters at a time. And so during which those people who are here to be the light, bring the light, spread the love, we are having to really stay committed to being loving every day. And like, that's no joke. Just like being loving every day is a day after day, like chop wood, carry water. And I wonder if you think that there's a spiritual reason for taking care of this temple that we're in. And if you could speak to that.
Well, it's so funny because It's common thought that you go to the gym, you train your body, you do a really difficult exercise, or maybe bring yourself to momentary muscle failure. And on the other side of that, you get better and stronger. Like most people can grasp that idea. But we forget when that comes to our mental and emotional and spiritual battles. But the same applies. So when we go through all of these challenges and we feel like we're at momentary muscle failure, we are getting so much stronger, so much stronger. So it is, of course, intertwined. I mean, our body and our spirit, they're not separate. And, one thing that stands out is, I'll say moms, women, when there's a lot on our plate, my body, my health, being a good mom, being a good wife, taking care of my business, my hopes and dreams, my connection with my higher power, like all of these things can sometimes be perceived as separate line items. And so a lot of times a woman will come to me, they'll want to embark on a new journey for their health and fitness, and they look at it as one more thing. But when we are in our power and when we are in our light, it's all one thing. It's all coming from the same source. It's not separate things that we need to dual out our energy for.
Hey, it's me, Ryan. So something I do every single day to invest in my growth, besides connecting with the humans on this podcast, obviously, is reading. Reading is where it all started for me. I was 5 when I became obsessed with books, writing them, reading them, collecting them. I love how I can get inspired with new ideas and stories and ways to grow. That's why I ask all my guests what they're reading. And finally, you can check out all the book recommendations from the experts and authors on the show in one place at raisingwildhearts.com/books. There are some life changers in there like You Are the Placebo, and a few hidden gems like Sacred Motherhood and Living, Loving, and Learning. So if you want to get your hands on your next great read, check out the full list by heading to raisingwildhearts.com/books. Okay, back to the show.
Yes. Oh, I'm obsessed with that answer because I picture myself like with my children, right? It's like, it's cliche for a reason. Like you can't pour from an empty cup. And when I am overflowing and energetic and in my flow, I show up for them just like that. And when I am feeling sorry for myself and really scared or really beating myself up, I show up as like pretty grumpy and like spiky, as I like to call it. And that's trickling down something to them that's telling them, it's telling them that they're not lovable. I know it has nothing to do with them, but what they are internalizing because they are children and they don't have the adult like cognitive ability to go like, oh, mom's having a bad day and she's grumpy. Oh, she'll be more energetic tomorrow. They go, oh, I must be like bad or wrong. And if the scale tips, no pun intended, if the scale tips to like most of that they're seeing their mom depressed or sad or anxious or angry or self-loathing, then that is what's going to get programmed into them, especially between the ages of 0 and 7. And so like, I just think of the woman who's like, it's one more thing. And like, I get that. I get how that feels to be walking through life like that. And there are seasons where we are busy and we are full speed ahead. But, I don't want to say that it's for our kids, but the kids reap such rewards from us taking care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. So bringing this back to the very beginning of the conversation, rather than embarking on a new journey for the bikini on the beach, which is valid and that should be part of it, what if we started a journey to have a deeper spiritual connection? Or what if we started a journey in our body to be the best mom or to be in center? Like it all can come back to that one inner place. I want to share something pretty personal, but it was in line with everything you're saying about what the kids are picking up on. My mom and I have done a whole lot of work, specifically over the past 12 years. I'll probably share something here she doesn't know yet, so we'll see if she listens to this. Um, we've both done a lot of work on our part, but a insight that came to me earlier this year was as an infant. I don't have any conscious memory of it, but as an infant, my mom was going through her own challenges, as humans do, as adults do. And subconsciously, maybe consciously, I said, well, I'm going to enter a contract, a codependent contract, and I'm going to help clear and cleanse and take some of these energies so that mommy can love me. And at such an early age, at infancy, I created this codependent relationship to receive transactional love. And that was huge, huge. And the turning point, which I think is so timely with this massive change that our world is going through, is realizing, number one, we are unconditionally loved always, and to step so fully in being a co-creator. Every member of the family has their own unique position of the family, just as every member of society. And when we stand in that fully, we can be a creator with this beautiful orchestration that this life is.
That's so beautiful. I thank you for sharing that. I'm like, I've got tears in my eyes. I resonate with that deeply. I think we as infants choose our parents because we know that they are going to be the imperfect humans that really start us on our path of discovery. And for many, I would venture to say, for me, for sure, like childhood was like pretty painful, and it was a lot to hold as a kid. One of the things I kind of thought earlier, it's so interesting that you made this contract when you were an infant. One of the things I thought probably earlier this year, I also had this like epiphany of like, because we've got intergenerational trauma on my mom's side, and my dad's side, but it affects me most in the feminine. And I'm like, great grandma passed it down to grandma, passed it down to my mom, passed it down to me. And we all, even though like my great grandma's no longer living, my grandma is 97. Wow. I'm 41. And like, I believe I'm the only one like probably actively looking at the shadow, like healing those wounds intergenerationally. But I feel their strength and their courage, even though we've never had this conversation. They don't know really like my path. They just see me doing a podcast and they think it's weird, or interesting. My grandma was like, so tell me again what a podcast is, honey. I don't get it. I'm like, it's okay, grandma. Just be cute and just be 97. You're cute. But I think that we're all like energetically holding it up with each other because it's so much. It's so heavy. You talk about becoming lighter, right? It's so heavy. We weren't meant to carry it all alone. And really, like, if we want to broaden it out even more, like the collective, the collective feminine experience, we are holding this up together. We are here to do the work to lighten that load.
Mm-hmm. And we can look at whether it's the generation before us or all the way up to great grandparents or even before then. And okay, we had a difficult childhood, they had a difficult childhood, there wasn't podcasts at the time or as much inner deep work as our generation seems to be doing now. But just imagine what that means to the next generation. Like when they're here, whatever a podcast will look like 20 years from now, how different that will be, how much lighter they will be.
Yes. Yes. And that is a vision I like to play with a lot, like a lot, because I want this next generation to feel unconditionally loved and accepted. I want them to know themselves so deeply. I want them to love themselves and love others and do what they love. And, I really do feel like we can live in this like harmony. And it doesn't mean perfect. It doesn't mean perfection. It means that like mostly we own our stuff and we take a look at it and we heal what needs to be healed,
Mm-hmm.
So
it's not always easy when we do it, but on the other side.
Amen, sister. Lighten the load. So I love where this conversation went. I didn't think it was going to go that deep, but I love it. And it feels like, it feels funny to go back into the endocrine system after all that, but I'm going to.
It's connected, so let's do it.
Yes, it's connected. So we started out just defining metabolism. What is our endocrine system? It's our hormones, right?
Our endocrine system is our hormones. And here's how I will bring all of this together with such a deep conversation we were just having. A lot of times when people think of our endocrine system, they think of our sex hormones, our testosterone and our estrogen, but it's a lot more than that. It's also our pancreatic hormones related to our blood sugar. And over the past few years, hormone replacement therapy has become very big. Even these GLP-1s like Ozempic and semaglutide and Wegovy are everywhere right now. All of those are externally, exogenously, and usually synthetically affecting our endocrine system. And what's so key to understand that I don't think a lot of people realize is you can't affect or change one hormone and not change the whole. So that's why people that go for hormone replacement therapy, it kind of becomes a balancing act or a dance because they go for one particular hormone, but they're continuously looking at their blood work and seeing how it's shifting and affecting the whole. So we can say that same dance of balance can apply to our gut microbiome when we're looking at good bacteria and bad bacteria and bringing everything into a symbiotic environment. And then if we take a larger view, coming back to the collective and all of the changes that are taking place in our generation and what's to come, there's a greater sense of balance. And part of what we're experiencing right now on a global scale is the perception of isolation, the perception that I can take the single species, the single plant, the single piece of food, the single hormone, the single race, the single gender, and change that without having repercussions on the rest. But it doesn't work that way. All is interconnected.
Yes. So every single hormone in our body is connected. So when we start shifting just our estrogen, something else happens on the other side. When we shift just our progesterone, something else happens on the other side. Okay. So you mentioned the GLP-1s. I'm just like, I don't really know that much about them. I know a couple people, like less than a handful of people who have decided to do it. One of those people, originally it was for like diabetes management. And what I'm understanding is that they're peptides, which is a chain of amino acids. And I'm like, oh, that sounds organic. Like, I know that sounds really silly, but I'm like, that doesn't sound harmful. Not that it is harmful or is not. Perhaps it's just indifferent. Perhaps it just is a thing that is helping people lose weight. But what is your take on it? You like alluded to there's imbalance going on. Like, what's happening with these GLP-1s?
So there's a lot of them, and semaglutide, many are taking, and they are saying, oh, it's just a peptide. It's not a drug. They're all affecting our body the same. Whether it's Ozempic, Wegovy, whichever brand it is, it's still taking an exogenous hormone, peptide, I should say peptide, and affecting our body. And probably the thing that strikes me the most with it is it's taking away our power. And, my view might seem far-fetched to a lot of people, but these bodies are literally the most miraculous machine on this planet. With AI, with all of the crazy technology that is coming out, none of them stand up next to the human body. So it just feeds into that story of I can't, or I'm broken, or I'm not capable of. And GLP-1 glucagon like peptide, the body makes it makes it. So when we are coming back to the state of balance, we can do what these companies are profiting billions of dollars off of. So I'm not a fan. And if we are looking at more extreme cases like diabetics, I have people reversing diabetes. There are thousands of people that have gone through the metabolic reboot and they're coming off their insulin and they're coming off their metformin, and they have the satisfaction and the pride of doing it themselves.
Yeah, that's so cool. What I was thinking when you were talking about that, like the challenge is what spurs the growth. So if you take that, like that overpass, like that bypass button, that easy button by getting injected with a synthetic or taking a pill even, or like if you take that shortcut, then you miss those little opportunities to go, oh, like me. Oh, that coffee wasn't making me feel good. Okay, it's time to try something else. Oh, I'm feeling a little sluggish. Instead of grabbing a kombucha, I'm going to go meditate for 3 minutes. Okay. Oh, and it robs us the opportunity to grow day in and day out, because we're just then going through our same life and oh, we're busy and we're this and we're that, and we're just on autopilot, and it doesn't let us slow down and actually go through the trenches. Like, we need to go through the trenches. Look at some of the most successful people on our planet, like consciously successful, might I add. But it's people who have come from really great hardship. You don't just like get born with a silver spoon. You don't just get born into this life of luxury and then like become a great, happy, successful person. Like, you have to work through hard shit, I think. Maybe not. Maybe just from where
1000%.
I'm. Yeah, right? I mean, I'm like, I guess there could be a.
1000%.
Yeah. Yeah. So to me, it's like a shortcut.
It is a shortcut. And if we take all of this full circle to every single point of our conversation so far, let's come back to the understanding of codependency versus being a co-creator. And one, I might say, is working in alignment with this divine balance that is so far beyond our human conception. And the other one, I say codependency, but it's the shortcut. So it is the perception of changing one hormone, the perception of changing one plant species, one food, one race, and not having repercussions. So it comes back to that same thing of skipping over the, I might say, divine journey or process of creation, right? Like, you can't birth a baby in 1 month. It just doesn't happen that way. And when we try to trick the system, we might say that's going against light. I don't want to get too crazy on spiritual topics there, but you know, a lot of people are talking this dark versus light battle that's taking place right now. And that's it. It's going against the process of creation.
Yes. Wow. I love it. I am with that. I am with that. And not only am I with that, I think this is going to be the title of the episode, like codependency versus co-creation, because that is just such a cool juxtaposition when you think about it like that. You know, I've talked about codependency a ton on this podcast as well. I would say I'm like, recovering-ish from, if that's a thing, it is now, from codependency. And I really can look back and see where those patterns have shown up in my life, and sometimes where they still show up, like little sneaky ones. And so, yes, I love that. I love the difference between those. Those are great. So as we start to wrap up, I want to ask you two more things. I'd love to know as a kid how it was watching your parents go through the health challenges, and if that led you to this passion and purpose that you're standing in now.
Thank you for asking that. So when I was 13, my father was going for a double hip replacement, and they found lung cancer. And then he was in and out of surgeries and infections, and, you know, we'd get picked up from school, we'd go to the hospital and do our homework there. And then a year later, my mom got really sick, and they had a hard time diagnosing her. Still to this day, doctors have been dumbfounded by what it was that plagued her. But what shaped me so much during that time period is, unfortunately, my father took a very woe is me mentality and said, I'm going to keep eating my ho-hos and my Twinkies, and continued to decline, and he's no longer here. And my mom, on the other hand, started studying the law of attraction, started seeing holistic nutritionists. She was kind of pulling me into this space and said, I will not be defined by this C word. They originally told her it was cancer, and she said, I will not be labeled by that. So it was a really, really powerful lesson in realizing life happens. Like, life happens to all of us. So we may receive a diagnosis, but we get to control how we respond 100% of the time, coming back to our power that is always, always, always in our control. And I'm grateful that I got to see that contrast and how they responded. And I chose to take control.
Yeah. Talk about the light versus the dark. I mean, it's so beautiful that at a pretty young age, you got to see the differences and the paths. And it, you know, I'm sure that it took you some years to like kind of zoom out and like really see that. I'm sure when you were going through it, you were just kind of going through life as a teenager. But what a gift, you know, even though I'm sure it was not an easy gift to unwrap. And then the next thing I want to know about, if you're willing to share, is your journey to becoming a mama one day.
Related to everything I shared about my own mother, I never thought it was for me. You know, as a little girl, most women talked about it, and I talked about my career and just never thought, I don't know, motherhood just didn't seem to attract me. But as of the last couple of years, it seems like the divine has another plan. So I'm just letting the great mother guide me. I'm listening and following, and open to what she wants.
Okay. Do you think when you are healthy, and not you, anybody is healthy and really like eating to nourish and just like really in tune and exercising and feeling really good, do you think that intuition, like that channel for intuition, is open wider? And do you think we're able to hear more and feel more and sense more?
Yes, because when I talk about becoming lighter and shedding these layers of weight, sometimes the weight shows up as pounds on the scale, or inflammation or symptoms in the body, but the weight is the weight. The weight is the darkness. And when we have, if we want to call it darkness or shadow sides or blind spots, that is what it is. And it can impair or impair the channel. And what's the word I'm trying to get here? Get in the way of that flow and that source of light and intuition.
Yeah, I can see that as well. Okay, so there wasn't just two more things I had to ask because now I still have another question. What's the problem with, just quickly, and then we'll start to wrap up, but what's the problem with calorie restriction and or high intensity workouts, which is what most of us think we're supposed to do? Like, tell us why that's not the solution here. This is not the takeaway. Do not go do this.
I'll say it comes back to everything we've talked about. Number one, honoring cycles. So at times, sure, high aerobic activity can be beneficial in an exercise routine, understanding proper cycles and proper seasons, and bringing it back to another point in our conversation of going against divine creation. So when people are slashing their calories and starving themselves or doing 45 minutes on the stair climber or the treadmill, they're waking up and jumping on the scale expecting to see those pounds drop the next day. And it's that quick fix. It's so fast that really what's happening is they're losing a ton of water weight, they're breaking down muscle, and in the long term, when they break down muscle, they're actually slowing their metabolic speed and causing all kinds of other repercussions that can lead to rebounds and more weight gain on the other side of it. So it's the same exact thing. It's going against that process of divine creation. It's not a long-term or sustainable fix.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Love that there's a season for everything. Love that you're cyclically based. I think it's so important to sync our cycles with our lives the best we can. Where can we find you and follow you and learn about you and listen to everything you say, Ariel? Because I did one very short workout with you in our Holistic Moms group, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just felt so, I mean, how long was it? Was it a 10-minute workout?
Yeah, so that's actually the very first workout of the Metabolic Reboot, and it's a 9-minute routine. And sometimes
9
people come to me
minutes.
and they're like, 9 minutes, is that like high intensity? Like, oh my gosh, what is in the 9 minutes? And I'll let you speak for it.
It was so nourishing. It was like a combination of yoga and breathing and using your own body weight. And so feeling that strength, but still going very slow. It felt very intentional. And it was 9 minutes. And we did it in a group, which made it fun also. And that whole day, I mean, I think I said in like our group chat or somewhere, if I didn't say it, I thought it. I just felt so nourished and supported that whole day. And I did that. Like, you told me what to do, and I showed up to the group, but I did that for myself that day. Like, that was a win. And so yes, I want everybody out there to go to Instagram right now and then tell us your website and tell us what you have coming up next.
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram. It's Ariel_Griglin. Can they see my name or should I spell it out?
You can spell it out and I'll put it down below in the notes.
So ARIEL_GRIGLIN. That's my Instagram handle. And same thing for my website. So arielgriglin.com. I do have some events coming up. Just go to my website and check what the upcoming events is, depending on when this podcast comes out. I've got a New Year's retreat. It's going to be really fun. It's a virtual retreat from home the first weekend of the new year. So depending on when you're catching this.
Perfect. And if you missed that one, I'm sure you'll have more in 2025, right?
Yes, I will have more.
Perfect. Okay. We're going to do like the rapid fire that we do at the end of every episode. And the first question is, what's bringing you joy today?
This podcast? Can I say that?
Totally. Yeah, me too. I love it when people say that because I'm like, me too. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. And then what if anything, are you reading? I see some books behind you. Are you reading anything right now?
That's a really good question. I have so many books lined up right now. I just opened Power versus Force, which my partner has referenced many times. It is kind of an intuitive process for me. I don't know if I'll stick to the book. Might not be my jam or my feel right now, but that's what I have open.
Okay. Yeah. I tried to, that's still in my Audible queue. Like it's way down at the bottom because I started listening. It's David Hawkins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I started listening and I was like, okay, this is like a little beyond my, yeah. Anyway. Okay. Got
Yeah.
it. So check that out if you guys want to see for yourself what we're talking about, because I don't even have the words to describe it. I don't know if it was like just too wordy or too deep or too like, I don't know. It was a lot. Okay. And the last question I have for you is who or what has taught you the most?
Who or what has taught me the most? Looking within, so I could say self. I could say the great divine. My mom. It's my mom.
I love it when people say that answer. It's so sweet. It's so sweet. Thank you so much, Ariel. I am ridiculously grateful that we connected and that I found you and then forgot about you and then found you again. This conversation was a gift to me, and I know it's going to be a gift for everyone listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan.
Hi again, friend. If you're listening to this, you made it to the end of a Raising Wild Hearts episode. Yay! Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you can hear more amazing conversations just like this one. And here's the deal. If you made it this far, go ahead and hop down on your podcast app and rate and review the show. Your words and 5 stars truly mean the world to me. Thank you for your support of the show. Thank you for showing up and listening week after week. I will be dropping new episodes every Monday, so tune in then, and I will talk to you soon.